You are tuned in to Recovery TV, the voice of hope. Discussions and information on addiction and mental health issues. Here is your host, John J. Tassoni Jr., with today's guest.
Welcome to Recovery TV, and I'm your host, John Tassoni. We have a special guest today, the Honorable Sheldon Whitehouse. Senator, thank you for joining us today.
John, it's always a pleasure.
It's a pleasure to have you on, and I want to thank you for all my people that are watching the show, all the work that you've done in Washington on substance use and mental health. Thank you.
The Rhode Island recovery community makes me proud, so I'm glad to do it.
So let me ask you a couple of questions about the Comprehensive Act and Recovery that you were the prime sponsor on.
Yeah.
Is it moving where we got additions to it coming up in this particular session?
We're hoping so. You know, when I did CARA, the original bill, I worked with Rob Portman. He was my Republican chief on the other side. And we're working with him again on CARA 3.0, and he's retiring from the Senate.
Oh.
So he really wants to get this done. This is his last Congress. So that gives us, you know, I think some good impulsion, I should say, to get this accomplished in this Congress. So we're really hoping we can get it done. And it pushes more into support for medication-assisted treatment. And it pushes more into figuring out how you can best support people in recovery.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you have a good group of individuals in the Senate and the House that are really focused on substance use and mental health this year?
Yeah, we do. And, you know, a lot of it is where you would expect people from states that have really been hit hard.
Yeah.
So New Hampshire got hit very hard, and Senator Shaheen has been really strong. West Virginia got clobbered, and Senator Manchin has been very helpful. So there's I think, strong support for this. And as you know, when we did CARA, it got a huge vote. I mean, there was hesitancy for a while, mostly because neither side wanted the other side to get credit for it, of all stupid things.
Yeah.
But we just blew through that. We got it passed.
Yeah.
I think it had 82 votes or something like
Wow.
that. And then we needed money. And while we were arguing for the bill, we said, look, you got to do another bill that has the money behind it.
Right.
And Senator Sheen was very helpful in that. We got that bill done, and 2.0 kind of slipped into that. So that's why we're on 3.0 now. But it's been very positive, bipartisan, strong progress.
What about the administration? Is the administration on board as
Yeah.
far as
Yeah,
President Biden?
yeah. I think they are. I think, you know, SAMHSA's been doing a lot of good work in this space. And President Biden has experience with addiction recovery issues right in his family.
Yeah.
So I feel that we've got a lot of support. Unfortunately, there's this thing in government right now called interagency process, which is where everything goes to die.
Yeah, that's like the finance committee here.
So interagency process slows things down. It's kind of a thing right now in the U.S. government.
Yeah.
But other than that, I think we're moving quite well.
Is there anything else that we should be aware of, or the people that are watching should be aware of, other than the 3.0? Is there any other pieces of legislation?
You know, I've got a smaller bill that would continue the telehealth work.
Okay.
We got a temporary waiver during
Right.
COVID for telehealth. And as you know, heck, you were one of the people who told me, so I know you know, but a lot of people have said having people in recovery able to access their supports
Right.
through telehealth was essential to continuing that support through the COVID crisis. But the professionals involved also reported that they not only had more compliance with people showing up and, you know, making the meetings, but they believed they had better content.
Mm.
The people being at home, being comfortable, were a little bit more open. And so the telehealth just won across the board. It dodged COVID, it improved compliance, it got better exchanges between the professionals and the people in recovery. It seems like it was just like win-win-win. So we're hoping we can knock that out.
Yeah, and I know the insurance companies too are having not issues, but they had concerns about fraudulent appointments.
Yeah.
And that seemed to not hold water here in Rhode Island
Yeah.
anyway. And the telehealth issue was a great success because, as you said, the people didn't have to get on the buses. Most of the people have to use the public transit to get to their meetings, get their doses, and they can just do it right from the comforts of their own home, which is a win-win.
You've been a state senator, and you know that when something hasn't been done yet, people can get spooked by ghosts about what bad things might happen if you do it. And then you actually do it, and you find out that none of those ghosts were there, and that actually it worked really well. And I think that's what happened with telehealth.
What about the rest of the congressional people here in Rhode Island? Are they all on board with substance use and mental health stuff?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
We're a rock solid delegation on this.
Well, it's too bad. I mean, it's great that we are. It's too bad that the rest of the country doesn't follow suit. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of money sitting somewhere in Rhode Island that's not being spent on substance use and mental health that we've been advocating for. I mean, I put out a tweet this morning, and the Rhode Island Foundation did a great job of getting all these people together, sitting down and figuring out that we needed $255 million put into the substance use and mental health arena. And then the government cut it to 42, and we haven't seen a dime yet. That boggles my mind. And then we got billions coming out of Washington to help the cause. It's almost like it's the opposite.
It takes some time for things to flow through, as you know. Governor McKee was only able to get about 1/10 of the funding pre-packaged and passed by the General Assembly, and they're working right now on moving the rest of it through. So there has been a delay, but I would say that, that's a quality problem to have, a delay in money that's coming. Knowing that the money is coming, I think, is a good thing, and it continues to get more and more and more, and I think there's continued support in Congress for more and more spending.
Right.
The big breakthrough was supporting recovery. As you know, there was plenty of support for other aspects, for intervention, for law enforcement, for treatment, but once you were out of inpatient care and in recovery mode, there was nothing. You had just like really good-hearted people trying to help each other. And CARA broke that dam, and I think we're going to see a lot more funding flow into that area as people see more and more that it really makes a difference, and there are ways to do it better than others, and you should fund those better ways.
Yeah, and the other problem that we're having here, obviously, like people across the country, is workers.
Yeah.
The rates are horrible here in Rhode Island.
Yeah.
We're fighting hard to get the rates revisited. Senator DePalma and Casamaro have a bill on this week, so we're hoping that moves through. We're going to take a quick break. You've been watching Recovery TV, and I'm your host, John Tassoni. We'll be right back with the Honorable Sheldon Whitehouse after this.
Every week I work in stadiums filled with thousands and talk to thousands more on the radio, which means people who come from every walk of life. And I know that many, like my own family, have grieved over loved ones caught in the grip of addiction. 8 years ago, we lost my nephew to an overdose. But I've also seen in friends and even fans who've shared their stories, others break that hold and regain control of their lives. You can do the same. Please know you're not alone.
The Parent Support Network is committed to supporting and assisting peers. Together, they're working with statewide and national partners to empower children, families, and individuals through dynamic supports, education, and advocacy to prevent abuse and neglect and progress toward universal health, wellness, and recovery. A location is near you. Child and Family Visitation and Training Center in Warwick, Hope Recovery Community Center in Middletown, Hope Recovery Community Center of Washington County in Westerly, or online at psnri.org.
Treatment is often far more successful when individuals are offered both medication and behavioral therapy. Kodak Behavioral Health Care is Rhode Island's largest, only nonprofit, outpatient provider of care for opioid use disorder.
Our compassionate clinicians deliver the highest level of care for patients. Through Kodak's medication-assisted treatment program, patients are prescribed methadone, buprenorphine, Suboxone, and naltrexone. For a confidential conversation, call Kodak.
Local 57 Operating Engineers is Rhode Island's source for professional heavy equipment operators. For the last 120 years, Local 57 members have worked on all of Rhode Island's major construction projects, including buildings, roads, and bridges. If you're looking for professionally trained and licensed operators to run your excavators, loaders, cranes, or any other type of construction equipment, give us a call at 421-6678. If you're an experienced heavy equipment operator and would like to join our team, give us a call.
The Rhode Island Department of Health reports that drug overdose death is the #1 cause of accidental death in our state. Zinnia Exeter is committed to helping overcome addiction and the silent epidemic of drug overdose. Our substance abuse completion rates are over 25% higher than the national average. If you or a loved one is struggling with addiction, call Zinnia Exeter to learn about treatment options.
And now back to Recovery TV with your host, John J. Tassoni Jr. Recovery TV made possible by our supporting sponsors and our title sponsor, AdCare. Now, here's John and today's guest.
Welcome back to Recovery TV, and I'm your host, John Tassoni. The Honorable Sheldon Whitehouse is with my guest today here at Recovery TV, and thank you, Senator, for joining us today. I know you're very busy these days, so thank you again for what you do for the recovery community. I want to talk a little bit about housing. You know, part of the issue with substance use and mental health is affordable housing, and trying to get people stable and in their own homes. And I know the federal government is working very hard to get money to the state so these initiatives can be rolled out.
Yes.
Can you tell my listeners and my viewers about what the federal delegation is doing for housing?
Sure. Well, first, as usual, John is dead right. Once somebody is in recovery, the pillars that they really need to maintain their recovery are obviously recovery support, a job, and a safe place to live. And if you can put those pillars under somebody, they're going to do a whole lot better. And there have been some old policies that I think are being redone about, keeping drugs out of housing facilities that actually cut against people in recovery. But I think that's being solved. The housing folks in Rhode Island are being more and more helpful, and there are more and more grants and programs. If we could pass CARA 3.0, that has additional money for recovery housing and to try to make it better and more supportive. So you've put your finger on one of the key things that we can do to make recovery work better for people. And I think we're seeing in the last 5 or 10 years, we've seen a real shift, and now I think more resources on the way, and it's been much to the good.
Now, if you had a guess, if you had a crystal ball, when do you think this CARA 3.0 will come to fruition?
There's always a kind of an end of year wrap up bill.
Really?
Even in Congress. For you in the state legislature, usually the budget was the big bill, and that happened towards the end of the session. Ours is more calendar driven. It's the end of the year and the end of the Congress, and people try to figure out what can be put into a package and get all done at the end of the year. Because otherwise you got to start from scratch in the new Congress, and that slows things down. And as I mentioned, because Senator Portman won't be back in the next Congress, he's retiring, I think we're going to work very hard to try to make sure this gets done this year.
Now you have obviously you have bipartisanship on this stuff here, but what about the other side? Are they lockstep in trying to help get this thing done?
I think so. I mean, they've got different priorities than we do in a lot of different areas, but I think on this one there's a lot of overlap, and I think that's one of the reasons that you've seen this enormous progress made in the last 5 or 10 years on this issue. I mean, CARA, when it passed, really broke a dam. And behind it came the money, and behind it came CARA 2.0, and now we've got more. The rescue program funding that came to Rhode Island. A lot of that was set aside for, I think it added a third to the regular state funding.
Right.
So kind of wherever you turn, people want to be helpful because they have family members who are in recovery and they understand how really, frankly, brave and noble a thing recovery is.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
The other thing too is, mental health now with COVID.
Yeah.
People being shut in. The alcohol sales are through the roof here in Rhode Island. The deaths are through the roof. Overdoses are through the roof. As I say all the time when I go to this is a perfect storm.
Yeah.
Perfect storm.
And back to what you said earlier, it's aggravated by the difficulty of finding people to work there. And one of the things we're seeing is that in nursing, in teaching, in mental health, and in recovery, areas that people so often come to out of a sense of love and mission, and have for that reason been underpaid for a long time, there needs to be a big step up, like a sea change in compensation, so people are being paid the compensation that they're really due, rather than asked to accept less than decent compensation because it's a labor of love.
Yeah, and you know what, too, the insurance companies have to get on board with this stuff because the payments, the rates of what they pay for treatment is archaic. It's so overwhelmed as far as meeting the needs in 2022 rather than in 2000, the needs were different then.
Yeah.
Every day the needs are different. Every day.
Yeah.
And when you get a pay of less than $15 an hour, and you're coming out of college with a debt, college debt, because you wanted to do the right thing and get into the field, you can go to work for McDonald's or Burger King or any of the fast food places and make more money. So who wants to come and work in this field? But you hit the nail right on the head. The whole system we need a systematic change.
Yeah.
That's what we need.
We do. And if you look at the economic figures for the country in the last 30, 40 years, you've seen CEO pay go through the roof, the stock market go through the roof, GDP go through the roof. All those things go steep up, steep up. And then you look at wage growth and it's been just bobbling along. And so there's a big adjustment upwards in wages. And I think it's going to be nurses, teachers, healthcare providers who are going to be the real heart and soul of that improvement. They need to be because these are tough jobs and you can't rely on people doing a labor of love in the middle of a pandemic or when they got a kid at home that they need to take care of.
Right, exactly. You're 100% right. I don't know how it's going to get done. I don't know if it's the healthcare providers are going to come to the table and say, okay, now the rates are going to be changed, the compensation is going to be changed. Or the Fed's going to do it. I mean, it's a perfect storm again.
Yeah.
But we'll talk a little bit more about that when we come back because we're going to take a break so I can pay the bills. You've been watching Recovery TV, and I'm your host, John Tassoni. We'll be right back with the Honorable Sheldon Whitehouse after this.
I think when you're actively struggling with an addiction, you don't realize the harm that it's causing to the people in your circle, in your family, and your friends. By quitting and getting help, I was able to heal a lot of relationships that were damaged, and you find that people come back to you. Someone used to say to me that it's darkest just before dawn. So if you think that you've gone too far, it's not true. No matter what problems you have, your life can get better if you get help.
I started getting in trouble when I was really young. I was bringing knives to school in the 3rd grade. I started hanging out with the wrong crowds. I envisioned that if I wasn't dead by 26, I'd be in jail. I never had plans past that. Tides give me the opportunity to start a new life fresh. So now to be 28 with 4 children, married, manage this restaurant, living in a house, it's a miracle. Life is incredible, and Tides is who I have to thank for that.
Addiction Recovery Institute with locations in Pawtucket and Warwick have been the leaders in treatment of opioid use disorder since 1993. Addiction Recovery Institute offers same-day admission, no waiting list. Services include medicated assisted treatment, detoxification, and substance counseling, always providing care to those who are most in need with dignity and respect. For more information, visit methadone.com.
Alcohol and drug addiction, depression, anxiety, PTSD, they can all seem overwhelming, but you don't have to face them alone. At Trinity Village, we are committed to providing addiction treatment that works. We specialize in offering integrated care for co-occurring mental and substance use disorders. We offer cutting-edge medicated assisted treatment and medication management. We are now offering virtual care to get the treatment you need from the comfort of your home. If you or someone you love needs help, call or visit us online at trinityvillage.org.
With these,
and this,
with my mouth shut,
and my ears wide open,
it means that from the moment you walk into the room,
you're the most important patient to me.
East Bay Recovery Center in Warren connects people in recovery to the supports and activities that make long-term recovery a reality. People with lived experience work to engage individuals and serve as a guide for new recoveries. The Peer Recovery Specialist's aim is to engage high-risk individuals being served in the community to vital treatment and services and follow-up to ensure the connection to treatment and services is maintained. For more information, visit ebcap.org or call 302-6231.
And now back to Recovery TV with your host, John J. Tassoni Jr. Recovery TV made possible by our supporting sponsors and our title sponsor, AdCare. Now, here's John and today's guest.
Welcome back to Recovery TV, and I'm your host, John Tassoni, here with the Honorable Sheldon Whitehouse. Thank you, Senator, for joining us today. It's always a pleasure to have you on.
My pleasure.
And we're going to have you
Senator.
on more. A lot of stuff going to come out in front of this Recovery TV. I want to talk a little bit about the criminal aspect of what's really happening in the United States right now with the fentanyl.
Yeah.
Can you give us an update on what's transpiring down on the borders?
There's a lot more enforcement. For instance, the Postal Service scanning machines and scanning machines at ports. But this is a very adaptive criminal industry. So when they're getting their product caught in post offices and ports, they move to the traditional sources in Mexico and try to come across through illegal means and avenues. And because the damn stuff is so toxic and can be so concentrated, it's really easy to carry.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the danger of it.
The other thing I wanted to bring up to your attention, and I'm sure that you know about it, is that when the CDC, the rule makers, made the rules on the opioids, they went way too far to the left. Now I'm getting calls here from cancer patients, people with MS, that can't get Oxycontin for their pain because the doctors are afraid to write the scripts, because DEA will come in, if they see you got too many scripts, they'll come in and try to get your license. Has there been any talk about trying to reconfigure that particular industry there?
Yeah, and you know, this is where we began years and years ago with Joan Tenno at Brown University doing the research that showed how many people in Rhode Island were actually dying in considerable pain because the medical system was withholding the pain treatment that they needed.
Yeah.
And that was where this began years ago when I was Attorney General, and now we've come full circle and we're back to that again.
Yeah.
And I think we need to make sure that patients who need this get access to it.
And we're almost done out of time, but I want to have you come back after this session's over.
And one thing that's important to recognize as we close is how much the stigma has changed around this. And people understand that people in recovery are doing something brave, that it's a real accomplishment, and that this is an achievement that should be celebrated, not shunned.
You know, you're 100% right, and this is why we have Recovery TV, because there's hope in recovery, and we want to make people aware of there is hope in recovery, and it's not stigmatized. You get a job, you go back to work, you get your life back on track.
Hope and success.
Hope and success is right. Thank you so much. You've been watching Recovery TV, and I'm your host, John Tassoni. Thank you to the Honorable Sheldon Whitehouse for joining me today, and we'll see you next week.
My first experience with addiction was actually with a family member. And I was very young at the time. I didn't really understand everything that was going on, but I knew that it really rocked my family to the core. Now, thank God that family member got the help that they needed. Sometimes you get yourself backed into a corner and feel like you've got to do it alone, but I think it's important for those people that are in that situation right now in their lives to understand they don't have to do it alone. You know, you can make it through this, you can get back on track.
If you or someone you know is struggling with a mental health or substance abuse issue, the members of Horizon Healthcare Partners are here to help. Kodak, Community Care Alliance, Newport Mental Health, Thrive Behavioral Health, and Tides Family Services serve the behavioral health needs of all Rhode Islanders. We also operate BH Link, the state's 24/7 behavioral health emergency center. For help, call the 24/7 hotline at 401-414-LINK. For more information, visit Horizon Healthcare Partners at hhpartners.org.
Anchor Recovery has been a mainstay since 2010 and was the first recovery community center in the state. Anchor Recovery has grown from just a couple of 12-step meetings to an entire cadre of meetings supporting multiple pathways of recovery. Today, we support medicated assisted treatment, mindfulness, meditation, yoga, and physical aspects of recovery. Easy access in 3 locations. Learn about how recovery can help you. Different paths, same destination. Stop in, call, or visit anchorrecovery.providencecenter.org.
Serving the community for more than 30 years, 3 generations of our family at Wesco Oil have been providing reliable comfort to your home.
From oil delivery to installation and service, you can trust us to maintain your heating and cooling systems year-round. Visit us at bewarm.com to choose an option that best meets your needs. Be cool or be warm. We've got you covered. Honest service at a competitive price. Wesco Oil Company.
Sometimes everyone can use a helping hand. At Tri-County Community Action Agency, we offer support services when you need it the most. From food and heating assistance to family health and dental care, we have programs to lend a helping hand throughout the whole life cycle. From grandkids to grandmas, individuals or families. If you or someone you know could use a helping hand, visit our website at tricountryri.org to learn more about the many services we provide. We know it isn't easy to ask for help. At Tri-County, we are here when you need us. For more information, visit tricountryri.org or call 401-351-2750.
If you're struggling with addiction to pain pills or heroin, it's time to call Groups Recover Together. Groups will get you the medicine you need to feel better.
When I took Suboxone, I felt just like able to function, no sickness, no, anxious feeling.
And will give you the support you need to build a life worth being sober for. The time commitment is minimal, just 1 hour a week. You can meet with us in person or virtually. Call now to get started.
When it comes to home improvement, a courtroom is the last place where you want to end up dealing with a contractor. We have all heard the nightmare stories. Avoid any legal hassles and reach out to a contractor you can trust. Lopco Contracting. Interior or exterior painting, small or large repairs, or a home renovation. You'll always get the right verdict with Lopco Contracting. Call Lopco now at 1-800-PAINTING or log on to LOP as in professional, cocontracting.com today. Salute. Adjourned.
Tune in every weekend for a new edition of Recovery TV. Host John J. Tassoni Jr. discusses information on addiction and mental health issues with local leaders in today's recovery world. Tune in Saturday evenings on MyRI TV or Sunday mornings on CW Providence or Fox Providence.